Thank you guys so much for coming to this training. This is As Seen on TV training hosted by me with my guest, Jen Tobias Struski. And I'm so happy that she's here today. She is
Mhm.
an amazing TV personality here in San Antonio, and she does a lot in the TV community. She's an Emmy award-winning producer, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Thanks for that.
And yeah, and she just knows so much about how to be on TV and stuff like that. And I've done it many, many times where I've done a bunch of segments where I promote my brand, my makeup services. And once I do that, my website views go way up because people they like what they see on TV. You know, they trust you more. We want to build that know, like, and trust. And we'll talk about that more during this training. So let's start off a little bit about you and how you got into this and just like a little brief intro.
Sure. Thanks. Yes, happy to be here. How I got into television, and I'll summarize, but I started pretty much in high school, had the journalism background, and my teacher helped to get me my foot in the door at Kent's 5 right when I graduated. I didn't know what I was doing. I was terrified, but jumped right in and was a video editor. Got $8 an hour. And from there, I worked my way up. So I worked at Ken's 5 for 7 years. Eventually, I became the morning producer, assistant producer, and then I started shooting stories because my passion was always to tell stories, to shoot, and to front them. So that was always the end goal that I had to start, from the bottom, work my way up. And took a break. I went to Colorado to be a reporter, smaller market. And then I took some time off to be with my daughter. And then I saw that KSAT was hiring and they were launching a lifestyle show. I said, you know what? If I'm going to do TV again, I wanted it to be positive, and that's what lifestyle in our show is all about, right? So it's a variety, it's positive, it's helpful, everything from your makeup tips and the segments like that to, heartwarming feature pieces on people that are amazing in the community. So I'm living a dream, I will say, because that's what I always wanted to do. In case that's where I always wanted to work. I went on a field trip in high school and I saw Leslie Mouton anchoring, and I was just like, this is what I want to do. So full circle, this is where I am now. Yeah, and I did start as the booking producer, which is why we go way back, right? For SA Live, eventually, again, kind of worked my way to my real passion, which is storytelling and editing and shooting and all that. So yeah,
That's
that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, I've seen your journey go from, booking and then to that, which is really cool. Yeah, so and a little bit about how this training is going to work. I should have said this at the beginning, but just really quick, we're going to talk about why TV is important and, what makes a good segment. And towards the end, if you're in the signature program, you'll learn how to actually do this in your area. So this can be done, in your area. If you don't live anywhere where they have like a variety show like this, there's probably a big city near you that does that you can, maybe travel to or even send footage in, I think. That
Yes.
could be really,
Yes.
I've seen that before. So yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll talk about that. So why is TV important? Why should you even do a segment? What's the difference between just posting on Instagram like my makeup services or actually doing a segment on TV?
Yeah, that's a great question. And things are definitely evolving. So I'd say there's a lot of power, obviously, in social media. But the beautiful thing about television, and we are still trying to hold on to that and fight for that, is that you still get the viewership. You get maybe a different audience, even because there's people that are always on, right, social media, but then you have a different audience that's watching our show at 1 o'clock. And so I think it's important because you still get to, it's a different way. It's not the quickness of a TikTok, which is fine, which is what people are into, but it's also a way that people can get familiar with you, I think, and they know your name. And I don't know if you've gotten that out in the community. It's like, oh, we saw you on TV. And you mentioned credibility too. That is definitely, and I mean, because anybody can do a video, right, on social media, but when they see you on a show that has a brand, there is some type of credibility there too. I think that can help you to grow, I guess, your clientele, right? And also that credibility with your makeup tips. I always feel like when you're giving our viewers a takeaway, then they will want to follow you. They'll want to go to your website. It'll transition to your social media too and your followers. So it all works very nicely together.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot in the program about a funnel, and what journey they have to go through. So when they see you, and what do they do next? And when they see you on TV, when clients see you, they see that credibility, which is a good point because yeah, everyone can be on Instagram, everyone can be on TikTok. Clients are used to that. They're like, okay, yeah, you and a whole bunch of other makeup artists, you are all on there. But when they see a makeup artist on TV, it's like, oh wow, okay, so this person does
Yes.
this. Like it just kind of takes you a little bit up a level. And they
Mhm.
don't have to really watch it live. They can watch it on your website. You can just post the segment later on. You can say, like, I have been featured on this and this, Advertising like that is not, for me, it's like still really, really important. That's people still buy stuff for billboards and stuff for a reason. Like it's not dead or anything like that. I know that social media has, kind of been the forefront of everything, but traditional media is something that I feel like will leverage your brand more because it just shows people that, and
Yes.
even doing a segment is difficult in itself. So that is, and it not difficult, but it's maybe not as easy as social media.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
That's
Because
true. That's
because
true. It's not easy for people to get in front of a camera.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm gonna cough again.
No, you're fine. So,
Okay.
so I guess that leads into what makes a good segment. So, say you've booked something and you are like, okay, I've booked this spot. I did my pitch to this producer and I'm going to do the segment on bridal makeup tips. Say you're a bridal makeup artist. What should you prep for? Like, what makes a good segment versus a bad one?
So sorry.
No, you're good.
I've been fighting a cold. Yes, a good segment versus a bad segment. This is a great question because this is what I did before I was on air there at SA Live. So, I've seen a lot of different shows. I do a lot of research to try to see what would make a good makeup segment. And that kind of helps me to prep somebody like you that comes on, which you've got it down. But we always want to see, I guess, obviously we want to see some type of tip. We want to get some type of tips for our viewers. And what I've learned too, because we have a time constraint, we have to maybe have things like 80% done. I'm all about the befores and afters. Let me close my email. I'm so sorry.
No, you're
I'm
good.
all about the befores and afters. So I think that's important. So even if you have somebody that's fully done when you come on, it's important, if you may not think of this, but your producer should be thinking of this, to have a photo at least to show, and then we can do a side by side, because that has always got my attention, even as a teenager, even on Good Morning America, right? It's always that reveal. So something to keep in mind. And it's something that's teasable too. Those are another important factor where you say, we're going to show you 3 ways to get a bronze look that, under $10 or something like that. So having a catch with it, I think you can tease that. So knowing that, because you're competing, right, with a bunch of other people that can come on, right, and do a makeup segment. So I've always encouraged, and I still encourage our producers now to find that hook. Like, so don't just come on and say, I don't know, something generic, maybe more specific. You know what I mean? Like, here's some shades that work for fall, and how to do like a fall look, or we focus just on eyes, right? So I don't know if that's helped you or your experience when you narrow it down. Is that more helpful for you?
It is. It's helpful for me whenever I am pushing something. So if it's bridal season, I will do like a bridal segment, or Halloween, we'll do Halloween. Um, Makeup is cool that way because it works with the seasons. So you can do different, campaigns, basically marketing campaigns. But if you have a focus though, I feel like that's the best route to go. Like if you're a bridal makeup artist, you continually do bridal segments so people recognize you as a bridal person. Um, but if you're kind of doing all different things, you can do different segments. Honestly, I haven't even really noticed that. Like if I do a bridal segment, it's somebody who goes onto my website isn't going to say, oh, well, she only did a bridal segment, so I don't trust her. It's the fact that I was on TV to begin
Yeah,
with. It doesn't really matter. So
that's true.
it doesn't really matter. But yes, being particular and niching down on something is going to be really helpful because you want to make sure that you have a hook, that why am I watching this, instead of just here are some 5 makeup tips. Well, how about here are some
Yes.
5 makeup tips if you're over 40? Like basically it's
Yes.
you have to target people so that way speak to them, and it just makes a better segment. And that way you can have different variety as well, and you can have different things.
Yes. I like for wedding, I think we've done this before. It's like because you know how every bride has their preference. So we've done it before where we did the natural bride look, then the step in the up above that, and then the full on all out makeup. So even, yes, giving that variety, I think is a good segment.
Yeah, even like subtopics in within your topic as well. Yeah, I think
Yes.
that that's really, really, really awesome. And it just makes for a better segment and people like to watch it. You want people engaged. You want them to say, like, "Ooh, what is she going to talk about next?" And
Yes.
you can rewatch segments of other, just Google like Good Morning America or just any segments of makeup and you see what they do and
Mhm.
maybe change it up or add something different.
And hacks are always great. I will throw that in, whether it's like a hack to get your eyeliner perfect, or take a look at this you didn't even know, but if you do this, your lipstick's perfect, or those always get me too. I'm like, yes. And so it's something you can also work with your producer, because maybe you're like, I don't know if I'm going to get to that. I'm nervous. I only have 4 minutes. Well, they can always put in a graphic for you, like fun hack, pop it in as a fun little hack, and it'll be on screen no matter what. And so at least you have it that way if you don't get to it. So
Yeah, I think the best one that, well, not the best one, one of the better ones that I've done, the most popular ones I've been watched is the viral TikTok one that
mhm.
a lot of people um voted for actually. So this is a good idea too for your Instagram. You can put a poll on your Instagram for your audience or your email list, and you can say, what do you want me to talk about on TV? I'm going to do a segment. What do you want to hear? And then just put a couple of things, topics, and have them vote for it. So that way it makes them excited for when it comes out. You can show them and be like, see, I talked about it and this is what it was. And that's the one that won on my poll for my email list was the TikTok one. They wanted to know if certain things they saw on TikTok were actually true or not, if they work or not. And I don't know if you were there for that day for that one, but
I
that,
wasn't. I remember though hearing the topic in the
yeah,
morning.
yeah. So that one worked really well. I think that one was awesome. Halloween always does really well as well, but if you don't want to do Halloween, that's fine. But stuff like that, I think just asking people, because sometimes we're so close to the subject that we don't understand what people want to see. We're
Yes.
thinking something different because we've done makeup. We're like, oh, well, don't people know that already? They don't. Don't
Right.
assume that, ask
Yes.
the audience what they want to see and they will tell you, and you can build your segment around that. So, and I've done
I'm
so,
gonna do that. I'm
yeah,
gonna do it this week. I'm gonna ask them something, because yeah, same for us. We're always looking for something different, different angles for our show in general. So
we're just too
thanks for
close
that.
to it. We don't really understand what people want, and sometimes we just forget, like we could just ask them.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that a lot of people are hesitant to do a segment because they're on live TV and it's public speaking times 10 and times more, and you're in front of the camera and all the lights are on you, and the screen is right there. It can be a little scary. The first time I did it, I was intimidated a lot, and it just kind of freaked me out a little bit. And so there's a lot of people watching this that are like, well, I don't think I can ever do that. I don't think so. What tips do you have to overcome that? Because I am the biggest introvert and I overcame it and I have some tips, but I want to hear what yours are first.
Yes, I run into so many people that have even declined to come on the show because they're terrified of just live television. So the only tips I could really give, I think you have to just go through it, right? Like the first time, there's all the prep I can try to give you, but I think once they get through that first time, then they realize it's not that bad also. But I always say, and sometimes we forget this, don't worry about the cameras. Don't worry about the cameras that are on you. Just look at either your model, talk to our host, whoever's hosting that day, and your model. And that is your zone, right? Because that's what you know anyway. And so if you don't think about the cameras, I know they're there and I know they're all in your zone too, but just don't even look at them and you'll be okay. And that's the nice thing, because we actually encourage that. We say don't look at the cameras. So that works nicely for lifestyle shows in that case. And then yeah, just do what you love and do what you know. You know what I mean? So like you're doing makeup, then that's already something that you're the expert in. And so they're looking to you. And so you talk to kind of Fiona and Mike about that. And then I think you'll forget even, that this is a live segment, especially with makeup. It's different with maybe if you're just sitting there being interviewed live and you're like, oh, but when you're actually doing something. And that's why we always encourage some type of demonstration. Because I don't know about for you, but even if you, let's say, even if you just bring models and you're just talking about them, is that more nerve-wracking for you than when you actually get to do something, or what? How does that for you? I'm curious.
Yeah, so I think for me, yeah, when I'm doing something, you're right. I get into my zone because I'm like, my brain's like, oh, we know this. We're familiar with this. This is what we know, what we like to do. So then I start to do that. And you do forget the cameras are there after a while. Like you do because you're doing makeup now. And
Mhm.
even when you're pretending or something like that, your brain starts going into makeup artist mode and you're like actually doing it. And
Yeah.
makeup artist mode is like focus, everything else you forget. So that it is really helpful. The hardest thing is talking, knowing where to look and what to do. I've done so many where I feel like I fumbled my words or I said something weird or, something like that, and you just kind of go with it.
Mhm.
But I will say the initial segment, what I did is essentially you just go in and I do this. I pretend I'm somebody else, like a character. So like I am a version of me who likes being on TV. I'm a version of
Oh.
me who like, wants to talk about my brand and stuff like that and
Mhm.
smiles more and talks more. And for me that's like nerdy a cat, right? Because that's my business. So I'm not Nadia, I'm nerdy a cat now. Like this is her. And it's kind of like acting, and
Mhm.
the cameras come off, it's like, okay, I can stop smiling. Like
Yeah.
I can be myself now and stuff like that. So that might help you. That I know that helps introverts a lot with acting in general, which I've heard
Mhm.
many actors do that. They have to, step outside themselves and just not like, sorry, my cat, just not be,
Oh, it's okay. Mhm.
or it's okay to just not maybe be yourself at that moment. You'll
Yes.
still come off as authentic because it literally is you and you're talking about things you love. But I think that was really helpful for me overcoming
Mhm.
first because it was really nerve-wracking at first.
Kind of like psyching yourself out, right? Kind
Yeah,
of
you
like
just
you're like,
kind of
you
do
got
it.
this. Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
realize it's not that bad. And afterwards you feel good about it and you're like, oh, okay. It's kind of like riding
Mhm.
a roller coaster, I feel like. Like at first
Mhm.
you're really scared and then you do it and afterwards you're like, oh, can I do it again? Like
Yes.
that's the way it works, I think, for me. And then just yeah, I would say that that's my biggest tip for that. There
Mhm.
are vocal warm-ups and stuff, right? Like that you can do so that way you don't get tongue-tied or
Yes.
twisted.
Yes, it's funny because I don't do many of those. I probably should. But like you said, even for when I go on, I have to it's not easy to put that face on because it's a step above, right? Like what you would normally do if you were just doing a class or if you're just doing someone's makeup. Like you have to have more enthusiasm, right? You have to be a little bit more. So I see what you're saying. Like it's like, because I'm one of those introverted extroverts. So believe it or not. And so it is a step above. That enthusiasm comes up. It takes energy, right? And so yeah, as far as exercises, I don't do many like actual physical things like that, but I do have to prepare myself right before we go on, gather my thoughts and have at least bullet points in my head to keep me. Even today I'm going to be live, and I'll have to do that then right before I come on and make things appealing and teasable and keep people watching, which is constant. That's why at the end of the show, after if I'm hosting, I'm mentally drained. Like it is a thing. So it may
Even
not
that
seem
little
like it,
segment I do, I take a nap after.
right?
I
It
always
takes
do. Yeah. And it's just like a small segment that I did. I didn't even do a whole show. It's just a small one. But it's the prep before, it's the anticipation, it's all of that. And then it's, do once you do it, you kind of let it go and it's like good. But having bullet points is important. Yes, I always have a notes app, and you always think you're gonna say exactly what you wrote down, and then you say something different. But I think it's fine because
yeah.
then you're talking off like your experience versus just like reading off something.
Mhm. I
So
agree.
I've noticed that is like I will have a whole thing of notes, and it's like I said different things.
Yes, every time that ends up happening. I've noticed that too with people who bring their notes. But again, like you said, maybe it's a good thing, like especially depending on who's hosting
Um,
and how they might throw a curveball, they might throw a different question. They may not be as engaged as you thought they were going to be. So that all plays a role too. So that chemistry can make or break you, but you got to be ready to jump in if you're not getting what you thought you were going to get, or if they start coming at you with a lot of questions that you weren't expecting, right? So
what
either
what
way, I
do
think.
you do when you feel like a segment's not going your way? Like it's just, things aren't going right and you're just like, what do you kind of just power through it? Do you tell yourself something? Do you
Yes. If there's somebody that I can tell is giving me, for example, it's happened before, short answers. I've already talked to them. I already know how much they love their business, and then they're on with me. And I guess it's the live element, but they're super short. They're just, quick answers. So thankfully, I tried to get a lot of information from them before we go live so that I can fill the gaps if I need to, and even throwing in something as simple as, well, didn't you tell me that you learned all these recipes from your grandmother? That's amazing. And I want them to know that I really think it's amazing. And then sometimes that works where it sparks them to tell a story, or and then that is not easy to do. But it's basically just kind of continuing to get them comfortable while you're live, while the producers in your ear telling you still got 3 minutes and you're getting nothing. So that's where I have to step it up, and sometimes not stick to the script because the script's not helping. And so I take it somewhere else, and it's even pointing to something on the table that we weren't going to talk about, like we need something other than this awkwardness. So that's what I try to do. So it's very important to me that when I'm hosting, to get information, especially if it's a guest I'm not familiar with, and ask them, like, how did you start this, and all the things. That way I store it away, and if I need to pull it out, I can. That saved me in the past.
awesome. Yeah, no, so rely on, well, not rely, but your producer or the host should
Research. Mm-hmm.
research, and they should step in when they see that maybe you're not doing so well, you're kind of, going down,
Yes.
and then try to get you out of that. And
Mm-hmm.
then I think just telling yourself you've got this, it's okay. Like, just talk about what you love. I always just go back to like, if you love makeup and you like talking about it, you just go back to that, and just talk about,
Yes.
have a conversation with somebody. And like you said, ignore the camera. And you probably don't look as bad as you think you do. Because there's times where I'm like, oh my God, that was so bad. I know I look so bad. And I rewatch it and I'm like, you can't tell.
It's
So
all in here. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's all in there, and it's usually, and sometimes we do pre-recorded, which is cool as well. So maybe I don't know if that's an option for like
It
different
is.
networks
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, but I've done pre-recorded ones where during COVID we pre-recorded it and we sent it in. I find those are harder than live though. I'm weird. I think that I prefer live versus
Really?
pre-recorded. Yeah.
Why is that? Why do you think it's
I
more challenging?
I feel like because I have to do it over and over again,
Yeah.
I don't have that pressure of doing it right the first time. And then when it's live, you just got to do it.
That,
Some
that
people
is.
prefer pre-recorded, and I think that sometimes I've asked if we can do it that way for a certain segment, and then
Mhm.
they say yes, and then we just pre-record it, and then it comes out live. So
Mhm.
I think you
Yeah.
can even do that as well if that's an option that you feel like you're really, really not wanting to do something live. Like you're just like, no. I think that's another way to be on TV without having to do that live aspect of it.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yay.
pre-recorded's good. No, pre-recorded's good because I think from my perspective too, if I pre-record something with somebody on set and then I can go home and add some music under it, perfectly lay over the before and after. Again, it comes down to the planning and producing of it. That can be live too, but sometimes I have to do segments because I'm not always on set, and there's certain guests that reach out specifically to me. So I'm like, hey, I'm hosting this day. You want to come after the show? We'll knock out your segment. And what I've noticed is I'm able to precisely lay over something that makes sense in that exact moment. You know, sometimes our director can't get to maybe something you're referencing that quick. You know what I'm saying? So there's that's the pros of pre-recorded, but well, I love what you said though. Like the pros of going live is yeah, just that. This is live, it's happening right now. You're gonna start it, you're gonna finish it, and just jump right in. And as long as you have a good plan and your producers work with them, they can help you. But don't be afraid to suggest something to them like, hey, I have a bunch of hacks, I have a bunch of tips if you want to put those on graphics. Like they'll be like, oh, sometimes they don't, especially if they're guys.
Yeah.
They don't, you know what I mean? They don't get it. Sometimes there's certain things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Actually, Mike has been because, and for those who are watching, Mike is one of the what do they call hosts?
Host. Mhm.
And he is actually really good with makeup segments. He's like, he's not like awkward, like, I don't know anything about this. Like he's like, no, I'm gonna, ask things and research and actually do things. So it's been when I have a segment with him, it's not weird at all because he just knows what to ask.
Yes.
He probably asks his wife. Like,
Yes.
so I think having, a good host is super important because they just make you feel at home and feel, you know, like good
Hmm.
stuff going on and showing what you have to show.
Hmm.
So yeah. So I'd like to get back into the business aspect of it. Like,
Hmm.
so you have a segment and then there's a funnel to go to your website. What do you suggest? Do you suggest free offers versus like discounts? In your opinion, what do you think does well? Like when people, because I've seen different segments where they're like, okay, so some people don't even plug anything. They just talk about their business. But I think you always need them to go somewhere. I think that you need them to like either book with you or have an incentive to book with you. What do you think?
I agree. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, you should. And we always encourage our guests to offer something as simple for I did a restaurant this week, but I'm going to run a second segment next week on the same restaurant. And that restaurant, I said, it's our back to school week. Even though they're not really connected, I said, if you'd like, I mean, maybe offer a deal like for teachers or for everybody, for families, because hey, it's going to get hectic again. So maybe offer a discount or a free coffee. Yeah, or something. So I plug it, and then they always give me and I'm like, because I feel like I'm not pressuring you, because sometimes I'll get that look like, oh, and I'm like, no pressure, but hey, the viewers will love it. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Our demographic, especially when I go on the south side of San Antonio, I have a lot of family on the south side, from the south side. When I go visit people there, they come up to me. It's funny. I don't get that a lot. I'm not my ghost age. He gets that everywhere. But on my side of town, I don't get that, which makes me realize who's watching our show. Okay. So, and these people, they need the discounts, they need the deals, and they appreciate it. They really do. So whether it's a discount or something free, to answer your question, I think they're both
Both.
good. Yeah, they're good. And it depends on the business,
Mhm.
like in your case, a free makeup session. Well, yeah, like sign me up. But like maybe a restaurant or like a furniture company, 20% off your entire order. Well, that's still nice too, something like that. So if you mention SA Live, yeah. So I think whatever people can give, I know that our viewers appreciate it and they need it. They do. They really do.
Yeah. And I think I've done it before where I've done a free bridal trial, and I won't do that again. And here's why.
Yeah,
Because
tell me.
the thing is that there's nothing wrong with giving a free cup of coffee. That's like $5. Well, maybe now like seven, but it's like um that's fine. But when you have a service that's $100 or more and you're giving that for free, that person is not going to be in your, maybe they're not your clientele. Because if
Mhm.
say you do make it for $200 and you give it to somebody who wants it for free, they probably wouldn't have spent that $200 on you, and they're not going to buy the whole bridal package. So because
Yep.
you're giving the bridal trial for free in hopes that they will um book with you for the actual day of and book with you for their wedding. But they're probably not going to do it because that's a lot more on the back end, and they just kind of wanted a free makeup. So I don't condone giving free makeup,
Mhm. Mhm.
on air. I wouldn't, or as you're opt-in, I wouldn't do that because that's too high of a thing to give away. I don't even really think that discounts, I don't really like discounts because it gets them used to that, so whenever they want to book again, they expect that discount because it's like, well, I paid this much and I don't want to pay more than that to get my makeup done, because I'm used to paying this much for you. So I think that I would rather do an incentive. Like if you mention SA Live or, whatever segment you're doing, and you mention this on my website, I will add something to your service. I will give you um
Nice.
this extra thing, like
I like that.
adding
Mhm.
to it as a bonus. So that way you're not taking away from your service, you're just adding things. So I think that's a good way of doing that. Now, if you sell products like merch or like digital guides or makeup classes, then I think a small discount is fine then. But for services, I kind of feel like I would rather add than subtract from what I'm doing already. But again, that's customizable to your business and what you think. I don't think offering something for free though, for makeup is a good way to go. I've done it.
That's good.
Yeah, it's because I've done it and it
And
didn't
you've been through it. Mhm.
didn't work that well.
Got it.
So
I'm
yeah.
gonna remember that though, because thank you for sharing that. Because I don't think people you went through it, right? So if we ever have somebody that does beauty, any type of segments,
Mhm.
I'll mention this to them because that's a very good point. Everything you said, I'm like, yeah, I think adding is that's great. No, thank you for that. I'm learning from you too.
And then I think what was I gonna say? It just always having something, don't just go on there and just say, well, I'm a makeup artist, so book me whenever you need me.
Mhm.
They'll just be like, cool, noted, and then not do anything with that information, right? You want to get them whenever they watch you, when they're excited, when they see you, and so that way they can, you know, book then and there. And then again, if the target audience that you're doing the show for, like say maybe the show is being people who watch the show aren't your target audience, that's fine. You can just reshare the video to your
Yes.
target audience.
Yes.
You can
Hmm.
just take it and share it to them. So then the offer will go to them. And you can either have it expire or you don't have to. It's up to you. But it don't be discouraged if you don't get a lot of people from who watched it live. They just might not be your audience.
No, it's a win-win because you had it live. Yes, you get the MP4 and blast that out however you can. I agree.
Yeah.
That people seem to do that and take advantage of that come on our show. I mean, not everybody, but I'm like, and I'm always like, because I don't mind giving segments. I know sometimes there's pushback. So make sure that's another thing if you're watching and you're hoping to book at a show, maybe not SA Live in particular, but make sure you ask that too, because that's important. Like, can I have access to that video after it runs? Where can I find it after it runs? We used to have a strict policy on that. We're more lenient now, but that's something that you'll definitely want to save and be able to share.
Yeah, you asked him for sure, like, am I able to share this? When can
Mhm.
I? Because if you're just doing that for that one time only, you can never share it ever again. I mean, it's cool, but you want to be able to share it. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're gonna go into actually how to book a segment in your area.
Mhm.
And this is for if you're in my course, this is what you're gonna learn. If not, you can join the course, and that way you can learn all of this and more, and how to start your business, your makeup business from the beginning to the end, learn all the marketing stuff, and get really, really good advice and classes like this. So we're going to end it here. If you want to join the program, you can go ahead and join. And I would love to have you in there. But if you are in the signature program, we will talk about actually how to do the segment and how you could book it in your area.